What's up guys, my name's Angel Invader here, and today I'm back with another Harmon Smith video on his dumbass take, because let's just say his take is entirely retarded. Cut down most of his video because it's entirely stupid. I had to make this like at least 14 minutes, pretty close to 15-minute long video, so let's just get right into this, because his take about DRM being a pro-consumer thing is entirely retarded, but he thinks that it's not. So, and of course, as usual, he thinks that Nintendo wouldn't do anything like this because Nintendo cares about their consumers. Like that kind of usual stuff. And it's entirely retarded in my opinion, so I'm just gonna let the video speak for itself. So anyways, you guys enjoy the video, I hope you like it, and let's get right down to it and enjoy the cancer.
Alright, wow! A recent happening has kind of taken PlayStation Twitter by storm. You're seeing people making damage controls tweets, you're seeing people make excuses, and of course, you're seeing Harmon Smith not talk about it at all.
Because if it doesn't prior to Nintendo, it doesn't matter to you anyway, but yet you care about consumers being screwed over because you, unlike anyone else, focuses on your book, because your book so much matters that you're trying to make something that you're not. And to be really honest with you, dude, I hope your book doesn't fucking sell, because you're entirely weird and you need to stop picking your boogers in front of the video. Like, please, for fuck's sake, please go get some help, okay? Like, it's entirely retarded, in my opinion, that you're defending Sony for implementing this when they only did it because people have been jailbreaking their PS4s. I'm not saying this as defense because, no offense, why would I buy a PS4 if it's jailbroken? I'd rather just get the game that I want and then be done with it. So I'm just going to let the video speak for itself, because here's another point that is entirely retarded. So I don't know, I'm so confused of his take that it's entirely retarded in my opinion. So
has rolled out some new DRM measures which require you to check into their service to play their games. So if you buy a game digitally on PlayStation platforms and you try to play it, it'll do a quick check to make sure that you're legally allowed to play it. So, and then it'll boot up.
Is that it checks the license, because what it is that this new update that they accidentally implemented wrong is that it scanned your game of the license that you bought. And these are newer games coming forward that are coming out. Like, say that, for example, okay, I bought Doom the Dark Ages. It has to scan my game to make sure I'm online. And then after that, after the 14 days, okay, because someone figured it out, after the 14 days, it goes back where I can play the game offline as much as I want. Games like Plants vs. Zombies, Garden Warfare 2, you need an online check, okay, just to literally play the game. And it doesn't have an offline mode, because the reason why is because the team no longer works on that anymore. Okay, for example, another game, Plants vs. Zombies Garden Warfare 1, you need an online check for that, because if your internet does not scan it for DRM measure of the license, therefore it will not work after the 14 days. So
PlayStation owners are just coping and seething about the fact that they don't own their games anymore, and that Sony is taking more and more draconian measures to crack down on piracy and to crack down on used games. And what's interesting about this is how little you're seeing the community make us think about it. Because when you compare something like the game key cards versus this, the game
key cards is entirely retarded. I don't know why you're bringing that shit up, because it's entirely retarded. They did that shit because they know people like you will suck their dick for morning and afternoon. And another thing is because you don't care as long as it priors to Nintendo products, because you think that game key cards are the way of the future when it's not, okay? The problem is that what you're having and what you're grasping is that ownership means nothing to these companies, okay? And that's another issue that you are practically not grasping, is that we used to own games. Now companies are trying to say, oh yeah, you don't own shit anymore. And you want to know why? It's because companies like Ubisoft started this shit. Then California makes a bill where we don't own our games anymore. And then that's where Stop Killing Games comes in. Okay? And that's another issue, is that Stop Killing Games is bringing back ownership of these games that we own. And companies like Nintendo, PlayStation, and Xbox need to be held accountable. And this is why that another issue in laws is that they think that they can revoke our license by implementing DRM measures. I'm not saying that it can't be fixed, but the way how Sony misinterpreted and misinformation everybody is that it confused everyone because nobody likes DRM measures in their games, especially older games. So, what's your point, Harmon?
It's not anti-consumer. It's perfectly functional, right? You know, you're basically just buying a cartridge that you can download that gives you access to downloading the game like digitally. Okay, you know, there's nothing weird about the game key card. It's not that big of a deal, and yet, like, the narrative was always that it was like the worst thing to ever happen to gaming, and that Nintendo was taking away like physical ownership. Meanwhile, you know, Xbox One, you know, tried locking away the game.
Look what happened to the Xbox One, because you want to know why the Xbox One failed so miserably is because it's companies like Don Matrick that ruined the Xbox One experience. And the reason why it did is because it's entirely retarded that, oh yeah, you don't need to own your games, you need an online connection all the time. Well, PlayStation, someone figured out that it's after the 14 days that it works. After that, okay? And PlayStation didn't mean to fuck it up, okay? And that's entirely where the issue lies. So, I don't know why you're being like, oh yeah, I see this as a good thing where the PlayStation community does not care. Okay, dude, how about you go shut the fuck up and maybe do some research, because you probably did not do research at all. So,
Still, you know, like the worst case of DRM implemented in any gaming console ever since the Xbox One. It just goes ignored in the industry. It goes ignored in the community because you're not allowed to criticize PlayStation. You're not allowed to criticize the big boys. You're not allowed to criticize the Sony. Okay, they are the sacred cow of the gaming community, and we're seeing more and more like just what insane lengths the community at large will go to downplay and ignore Sony PlayStation 5 and everything they've been doing to destroy all their studios, all their Japanese talent, their legacy, their brand, their fan base. You know, like certain people on Twitter will like gobble this shit up no matter how bad it gets. And I really wonder at what point.
really want to know why that people are calling them out for this particular bullshit is because one, the update kind of fucked up a lot of shit, and two, the nobody really likes this shit because what does the DRM even do? Thing is that the reason why PlayStation fans are having a backlash against this because no one likes DRM, and especially mostly PlayStation, because everyone's making a meme about Xbox being like, oh yeah, so you're gonna copy what Xbox did? Okay, well, let's see how long this lasts when people are not gonna update their console. If it was me, however, I would just be like, well, okay, I'll just keep my internet online, so I'll just be fine. Sure, I can deal with it, but if a game decides to be like, oh yeah, you're gonna need to do an online checkup and all that, and if I lose internet, I only get 30 days to play it, which, I mean, I'm not really upset about that, but like, I understand where a lot of people are coming from, so I may not speak a lot for the PlayStation community, because one, I'm trying to get me a PS5, and it's really hard for me to get one right now, so I'm just gonna, I don't know. I understand where a lot of people come from. Keep fighting a good fight, PlayStation fans. So, well, I don't know. The big boys need to really get their shit together, so.
Are adamant that like Sony is winning. You know, because we saw this a couple of weeks back that like people were trying to tell you that the PS5 was outselling the Switch 2. And the simple fact of the matter is that wasn't true. That was never going to be true. It was a complete and total farce cooked up by Twitter users. And now that we have like, the numbers out, now that we're seeing Sony like make their moves and make their announcements, like it couldn't be more obvious that the Sony PlayStation 5 cannot compete with the Switch 2 in any meaningful capacity. And so like entire controversies like this have to be brushed under the rug while people try and gaslight you into thinking that Tamagotchi Life is going to completely implode and going to like completely destroy the company. How like there's nothing coming out on Switch 2 and how like Nintendo is doomed and how there's just
PlayStation 5 did outsell the Nintendo Switch 2 because you want to know why? Because there's more games that people can play compared to the Switch 2 because it's a weaker hardware. What do you expect from the Switch 2? Oh, I can play Doom the Dark Ages. What if Doom the Dark Ages runs like shit on the Nintendo Switch 2? Okay, what if Call of Duty runs like shit on a Nintendo Switch 2? I'm just saying this as an example. Borderlands 4 runs like shit, probably on the Switch 2. Borderlands 3 ran like shit because it was on the Switch 1. Okay, the reason why people are saying this is because people have waited for a Nintendo Switch upgrade to run these games at 60 FPS or higher, but because you get more FPS on docked mode is entirely bullshit and is a get it and let's just say this 60 FPS is a standard market, okay? It's a standard feature that should be in games that should run fine. If you are playing on PC, okay, like Borderlands 4, Killing Floor Free, Doom the Dark Ages should all run fine if you got a higher GPU, because I don't. Okay, I have a 2060. I'm playing Black Ops 3 at 60 FPS, okay? That's another thing, is that people are playing older games now because nobody can afford new games because they're charging $70 to $80. Okay? And that's where the issue lies. People are gonna. I have backlogs that I haven't even finished yet. Okay? I'm playing through the Batman Arkham series, and I'm surprised that the Batman Arkham series are even on the Nintendo Switch because it runs like ass. And even Assassin's Creed too. So, what's your point, Harmon?
so much going on with this video game release. Like it is positively insane. Like how desperate the community is to downplay PlayStation's numerous failures. And it's not something that's going to survive the console generation, I think. Like, I think as Nintendo establishes itself more and more as a monopoly, as Xbox is phased out, as PlayStation has to keep, like, staying competitive, like, what we're going to see is just a slow, gradual shift away from this mindset to the point where, like, younger people are probably going to look at, like, PlayStation fans, kind of like how we look at Sega fans today. How they're just desperate to validate themselves. Like they can't admit to themselves that they backed the wrong horse.
Desperate. If anything, companies need to be called out like Xbox, Xbox, PlayStation, Nintendo, and gaming companies, because you want to know why people call them out for their business practice bullshit is because the reason why they do is because consumers have more power than these companies do. Consumers are what are keeping these companies alive, afloat. And you want to know why? It's because if it wasn't for us as consumers that are buying their products, okay, they would cease to exist. And this is the end of my video. I'm done with this ranting. My brain cells are fucking committing suicide, so I'm just gonna end the video here. Like if you like it, dislike if you don't like it, and I am out. Leave it down in the comments below. And I hope you guys are all having a great day, and enjoy your night, and enjoy your month. Happy April Fools, and I'll see you guys next time, and I am out. So, you guys have a good one, and have a great day.